All right, hello everyone. We are back, and this time we are getting into some fun psychological marketing principles. It was really hard for me to decide which principle should we talk about for this first video. There's so much cool stuff to discover, there's so much cool stuff to learn, but I decided let's start with something relevant. And what's more relevant these days than Black Friday, Cyber Monday? So on that note, we're going to jump into something called charm pricing. Here we go. Okay, so you're probably wondering, what in the world is charm pricing? It's really just psychological pricing, and it's based on the belief that numbers, and specifically odd numbers, can have a psychological impact on buyers that persuades them to either take action, which means purchasing, or perceive products in a certain way. You have definitely seen this before, and the most famous example that you've seen this in are infomercials.
Putty. Call now and we'll send you 2 powerful sticks of Mighty Putty for only $19.99. But gives you that tailored look. You get it all. The Steam Buddy, the fabric brush, and the professional creaser. An $80 value for only $19.95. Here's how to order. Last set of wiper blades you'll ever buy or your money back. Here's how to order.
The most common numbers that you'll see used in charm pricing are 9, 5, and more recently 7. You've definitely seen examples of charm pricing everywhere. When you drive past a car dealership, you'll see something on sale for $36,999, or you'll see a coupon in the mail for Domino's, and it'll be 3 pizzas for $19.99. Or you'll get an ad for this dress that you've loved or these shoes that you've loved, and they're on sale for $49.95. Charm pricing is everywhere. And like I said, more recently, you might have seen it on sales for courses, right? Get my course for one payment of $597 on sale. Or not even on sale, my course costs $997, it's worth X. Even without the additional details, it's worth X, it feels like it's on sale. So let me jump into why charm pricing works. Okay, so one of the first reasons why charm pricing works is because of something called perceived gain. Like I just said, when you see something for sale at $597 or $19.95, even without an original price next to it, like $600 or $20, just by itself, it feels like you're saving something. It feels like you're saving money. It triggers this cue in your brain. It's called a sales cue, which again makes you feel like you're saving. So in your mind, you're actually getting money by buying this. It doesn't really make sense, and when you actually take a step back and think about it rationally, you're kind of like, hey, it's just 5 cents, or, you know, it's $3, it's $5. Kanika, that wouldn't make a difference to me. But trust me, when it comes to the actual moment where you are perusing around, looking for something to buy, you're searching for your product that you've needed for a while, you see those sales cues, and in your mind, you say, hey, I'm saving money. This is a great deal. I should go for it. So the second reason this works is actually the opposite of what I just went over. Instead of perceived gain, you can probably guess it, it's perceived loss. This gets back into what I said earlier about an original price next to the new price, right? So for us here in the US and in the Western world, we read left to right. You're left and then right. It's opposite for me. But what we'll see in most cases is the original price, say it's $20, and then the new price, $19.99. The way that perceived loss works is that even though it's a 1 cent difference, in our brain, that decrease or that loss in price feels significant. It feels like we are really saving, and it feels like it's making a big difference. So for a lot of folks, they actually wouldn't buy at that $20 mark, but when they see the $19.99, that feels significant enough of a price decrease that they say, okay, yes, I would do it for $19.99, but if they saw the same $20 price tag at another time, they probably wouldn't buy it. So that's the concept of perceived loss. We'll get into price anchoring another time. There's a lot you can do with price anchoring. I'm not going to do that today, but stay tuned and we'll do it another day. Now for number 3. For the third reason, this is actually probably my favorite. I think this makes a lot of sense. I probably shouldn't pick favorites because they all work on different people in different ways, but I use this one a lot and this is how I kind of rationalize it to myself. The third reason is specificity, and you can probably guess what that means. Basically, when something costs $19.95 or when you price something at $12.55, or when you see that X, Y, or Z costs exactly $15.97, it's very specific. And the thought behind that is, if something is that specific, people understand that there's a reason why it costs that much. There is actual value that was put into each of the different figures and all of the little processes that come together and equal the price. So it's so specific that I must be getting the value for what I'm spending, right? They must have broken this down in a way that got them to this very, very specific and strange price, because it's not a whole number, and I must be getting what I'm paying for. So the belief and the principle of specificity says, hey, if something costs a weird number, $9.99, $9.97, there must be a reason why it costs that instead of $1,000. We perceive it as so specific that there has to be value attached. And again, I use this a lot. It makes sense and it works. Okay, so at this point you're probably wondering, Kanika, does charm pricing actually work, or is it just a result of everyone jumping on the bandwagon and making their prices end in 9s and 5s and 7s? Well, good news. There is actual proof, and there have been studies. One study I'm going to talk about today came out of the University of Chicago, the business school there, and MIT, the business school here, called Sloan. And what they did was they wanted to test the effectiveness of specifically the number 9. So if you remember, charm pricing is a belief that odd numbers can persuade and influence buying behavior. And for them, they wanted to test the number 9. So for this study, they partnered with 2 women's clothing brands. These women's clothing brands were similar in the fact that they had about the same price range and average cost for items. That was about $50. And a lot of the demographic information and just the types of folks that were buying were also similar. Luckily, they didn't really have a lot of overlap in the actual buyers. So the same people weren't getting the same information, and the same people weren't buying from both of these stores. They actually double-checked the zip codes for each of the purchases that were placed to make sure there wasn't overlap and it wasn't the same folks. So the way that this study was actually conducted was through mail order catalogs. This was done about 15 years ago, and this was the main way that people were, or these brands were getting out this information to their customers. So they were sending out different catalogs, and for the study, they had these little, coupon codes that were placed on each catalog, and when somebody actually placed an order, the rep on the phone would ask for that code, and that would allow them to identify which catalog the person received and was placing the order from. For the first study, they partnered with one of these clothing brands, and they sent out 3 catalogs to folks. One catalog was their control. This one had almost all of the products ending in a 9. The other one, they decided to decrease the prices by $1, so almost all of the products were ending in an 8. And then the other one, the third version, was where they decided to increase products prices by $1, so most of them were ending in a 0. They sent out these catalogs to about 20,000 folks, and what they discovered after they let all the orders come in was even when the prices were $1 less, at say $48, and when the prices were $1 more, at say $50, people were still more inclined to buy at that $49 price range. About 35% more sales were to those products that were $49. Even when the products of the exact same style, type, everything were $1 cheaper, people were buying them at a higher degree and more frequency for that $49 price tag. So study number 1 did conclude that the 9 makes a difference in purchasing behavior. So then for the second study, it was a bit different. They decided to send it to more folks, and then they had 2 catalogs being sent out, right? So for the very first one, again, that was the control, and almost all of the products ended in a 9. For the second variation this time, they decreased all of the product prices, and most of them they decreased by $5. So instead of being $49, everything was around $45. Same thing, they sent it out to about 30,000 people, got the results in, and guess what they found? Probably don't need to guess for very long. You don't need to think about it for very long. And you're probably right. They found again that the correlation between purchases was much higher with a catalog that had the 9 at the end. So even though all of the folks who received the second variation got a discount, got a better deal in terms of pricing, less of them bought than the people who got the catalog that was full of 9 ending numbers. So here we see again that the power of charm pricing, and specifically the power of the number 9, makes a huge difference for buyers psychologically. These studies both show that customers were more influenced by the actual number 9 and by charm pricing than by actual differences in pricing. Okay, so that is charm pricing. That is what it is, why it works, and the research behind it. So I bet you're going to start noticing this all the time. If you have any questions, comments, random thoughts, I would love to hear them. So drop them in the comments. I will get back to them as soon as I can. And I hope you enjoyed. So until next time, I'll be back next week. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you then.